Chapter 5, The Steeds of Mars. The case of Abraham Rockenbach and David Hurlesius, who wrote about the year 1600, and who were informed on the matter of the comets of antiquity, shows that the contents of some old manuscripts were known to the scholarly world then, though not to modern scholars now. A scholar in a pamphlet, Jonathan Swift, in his Gulliver's Travels, 1726, wrote, loved that tale, that the planet Mars had 2 satellites, very small ones. Certain astrologers have likewise discovered 2 lesser stars, or satellites, which revolve about Mars, whereof the innermost is distant from the center of the primary planet exactly 3 of its diameters, and the outermost 5. The former revolves in the space of 10 hours, and the latter in 21.5, which evidently shows them to be governed by the same law of gravitation that influences other heavenly bodies. Actually, Mars has 2 satellites, mere rocks, one being as small as about 10 miles in diameter, the other only 5 miles. Questionable. One travels around Mars 7 hours and 39 minutes, the other in 30 hours and 18 minutes. Their distance from the center of Mars is even less than Swift said it was. They were discovered by ASAP Hall in 1877 with the optical instrument of the days of Swift. They could not have been seen, and neither Newton nor Halley, the contemporaries of Swift, nor William Herschel in the 18th, or Leverrier in the 19th century, suspected their existence. It was bold of Swift to assume their very short periods of revolution, months, measured only in hours. It was a very rare coincidence indeed. If Swift invented these satellites, guessing correctly not only their existence but also their number too, and especially their very short revolutions, this passage of Swift aroused the literary critic's wonder. It is an even chance that Swift invented the 2 satellites of Mars, and thus by a rare accident came close to the truth. But it may also have been that Swift had read about the Trabants in some text not known to us or to his contemporaries. The fact is that Homer knew about the 2 steeds of Mars that drew his chariot. Virgil also wrote about them. When Mars was very close to the Earth, his 2 Trabants were visible. They rushed in front of and around Mars. And the disturbances that took place, they probably snatched some of Mars' atmosphere, dispersed as it was, and appeared with gleaming manes. The steeds were yoked when Mars, Ares, prepared to descend to the Earth on a punitive expedition. When ASAP Hall discovered the satellites, he gave them the name Phobos, which means terror, and Deimos, rout, the 2 steeds of Mars, without fully realizing what he did. He gave the satellites the same names by which they were known to the ancients. Whether or not Swift borrowed his knowledge of the existence of the 2 Trabants of Mars from the ancient astrological work, the ancient poets knew of the existence of the satellites of Mars.
The terrible ones. Venus had a tail, considerably shortened since the time it was a comet, but still long enough to give the impression of a hanging flame, or smoke, or attached hair. When Mars clashed with Venus, asteroids, meteorites, and gases were torn from this trailing part, and began a semi-independent existence. some following the orbit of Mars, some other paths. These swarms of meteorites, with their gaseous appendages, were newborn comets, flying in bands and taking various shapes. They made an uncanny impression. Those which followed Mars closely looked like a troop following their leader. They also ran along different orbits, grew quickly from small to giant size, and terrorized the peoples of the Earth. And when, soon after the impact of Venus and Mars began to threaten the Earth, the new comets, running very close to Earth, added to the terror, continually recalling the hour of peril. Ares of Homer, going into battle, is accompanied by never-resting horrible creatures, terror, rout, and discord. Terror and rout yoke the gleaming horses of Ares, themselves dreadful beasts, also known by these names. Discord, sister and comrade of man-slaying Ares, rageth incessantly. She at the first rears her chest, rears her crest, but little, yet thereafter planteth her head in heaven, while her feet tread on earth. Similarly, the Babylonians saw the planet Mars Nergal in the company of demons, and wrote in their hymn to Nergal, great giants, raging demons, with awesome members, and run at his right and at his left. These raging demons are pictured also in the Nergal Erikskel poem. They bring pestilence and cause earthquakes. It appears that the mythological figures of the Furies of the Latins, or the Inries of the Greeks, with serpents winding about their heads and arms, flashing flame with their eyes, swinging torches around like wheels, grew out of the same prodigies which moved rapidly, changed their forms hourly, and acted violently. The Erinyes traveled in a group like huntresses, or like a pack of savage hounds, but sometimes they appeared to be split into two groups. To these comets traveling in bands with Mars or Indra are dedicated many Vedic hymns, indeed, a great part of them. They are called Maruts, shining like snakes, blazing in their strength, brilliant like fire. Indra, strong hero, grant thou glory to us. With the Maruts, terrible with the terrible ones, strong and giver of victory. And it is said that their strength is like the vigor of their father. Your march, O Maruts, appears brilliant. We invoke you, the great Maruts, the constant wanderers. Like the dawn, they uncover the dark nights with red rays, the strong ones with their brilliant light, as with a sea of milk, streaming down with rushing splendor. They have assumed their bright and brilliant color. Stones were hurled by these comets. You, the powerful, who shine with your spears, shaken even what is unshakable by strength, hurling the stone in the flight. All beings are afraid of the Maruts. May your march be brilliant, O Maruts, shining like snakes. May that straightforward shaft of yours, I swear it says that, O Maruts, bounteous givers, be far from us, and far the stone which you hurl. It's amazing, whenever something's brutal and evil, the ancients felt like they needed to worship it, you know? I wonder if someone came and was really super kind and was giving things to everyone, if they would worship them too. Or do they have to be treated like crap? Seems to be a pattern. Meteorites, when entering the Earth's atmosphere, make a frightful din. So did the Maruts. Even by day, the Maruts create darkness. Then, from the shouting of the Maruts, over the whole space of the Earth, men reeled forward. This darkness and this din were narrated in scriptural and rabbinical sources, in Roman tradition, and in hymns to Nergal, as the similarity of the description of the terrible ones in the Vedic hymns and in Joel is striking, but has not been noticed. A few more quotations should follow here. The comets, just beginning to whirl, looked like revolving torches or writhing snakes. They assumed the form of spinning wheels, and the celestial phantasmagoria appeared like swift chariots, changing their forms. The Maruts looked like horses racing along the sky, and then again like a host of warriors, leaping, climbing, irresistible. The verses of the second chapter of Joel 2:11 are given in their order, interspersed with verses taken from a number of Vedic hymns dedicated to the Maruts. Joel 2:2. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after, even to the years of many generations. Vedic. Even by day the Maruts create darkness, the terrible Marut host of the ever-youthful heroes. All beings are afraid of the Maruts. They are men, terrible to behold like kings. A fire, Joel 2:3, a fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. Nothing shall escape them. Vedic hymns, like a blast of fire, blazing in their strength, brilliant like fires, and impetuous. Joel 2:4. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Vedic hymns. At their racings the earth shakes, as if broken. When on the heavenly path they harness for victory, they wash their horses like racers in the courses. They hasten with the points of the reed on their quick steeds. Joel 2:5. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains, shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Vedic hymn. They are like headlong charioteers on their ways. They are brilliant, of terrible design, powerful, and devourers of foes. On your chariots charged with lightning, host of your chariots, terrible Marat hosts. Man, they did do a lot of writing on this stuff. It's pretty good. Before their face the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather black. At your approach the Son of Man holds himself down. You have caused men to tremble. You have caused mountains to tremble. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Your conquest is violent, splendid, terrible, full and crushing. The terrible train of untiring Maruts, full of terrible designs like giants. Joel describes how these warriors, coming with fire and clouds, will run upon the wall, enter in at the windows, run to and fro in the city, and the sword can do them no harm. In similar terms, the Vedic hymns describe the conquest by this terrible host. If there is any doubt as to the nature of the terrible ones, the following words should dissipate it. The earth shall quake before them. Joel 2:10. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Maruts are often called shakers of heaven and earth. Vedic. You shake the sky. Hymns. The Vedic hymns. You shake the sky. The terrible ones. Even what is firm and unshakable is being shaken. When they whose march is terrible have caused the rocks to tremble, or when the manly Maruts have shaken the back of heaven, hide the hideous darkness, make the light which we long for. The earth groaned, the meteorites, the host of the Lord, filled the sky with the battle cry over the whole space of the earth, and men reeled forward. These were, in Joel's words, the wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire, and pillars of smoke, when the sun is turned into darkness, and the moon into blood. The clouds, the fire, the terrifying din. The clouds, the fire, the terrifying din. The darkness in the middle of the day. The fantastic figures on the sky of speeding chariots, running horses, marching warriors. The trembling of the earth, the reeling of the firmament were visualized, felt, and feared on the shores of both the Mediterranean Sea and the Indian Ocean, for they were not local disturbances, but displays of cosmic forces in cosmic dimensions. Joel did not copy from the Vedas, nor the Vedas from Joel. In more than this one instance, it is possible to show that the peoples, separated even by broad oceans, have described some spectacle in similar terms. These were pageants projected against the celestial screen that, a few hours after they were seen in India, appeared over Nineveh, Jerusalem, and Athens, shortly thereafter over Rome and Scandinavia, and a few hours later over the lands of the Mayas and Incas. The spectators saw in the celestial prodigies either demons, as the Erinyes of the Greeks, or the Furies of the Latin, or gods, whom they invoked in prayers, as in the Vedas of the Hindus, or the executors of the Lord's wrath, as in Joel and Isaiah. In the section Isaiah, we maintain that the army of the Lord was not the Assyrian host, but a celestial host. Isaiah called the army of the Most High the terrible ones, and he will lift up an ensign, to the nations from far, and will hiss unto them from the end of the earth. And behold, they shall come with speed swiftly. None shall be weary nor stumble among them. None shall slumber nor sleep. Neither shall the girdle of their loins be loosed, nor the latchet of their shoes be broken. Whose arrows are sharp, and all their bows bent. Their horses' hoofs shall be counted like flint, and the wheels like a whirlwind. Their roaring shall be like a lion. They shall roar like young lions, like the roaring of the sea. And if one look unto the land, behold, darkness and sorrow, and the light is darkened in the heavens thereof. The mighty roaring, the wheels revolving like a whirlwind, the horses with hooves of flint, the light darkened in heaven are once more common features. Vedic hymns, these strong, manly, strong-armed merits, do not strive among themselves. Firm are the horns of the weapons on your chariot, and on your faces are splendorous. They who by their own might seem to have risen above heaven and earth. They are glorious, like brilliant heroes. They shine forth like foe-destroying youths. They who are roaring and hasting like wind, brilliant like the tongues of fire, powerful like mailed soldiers, who hold together like the spokes of chariot wheels, who glance forward like victorious heroes, who are swift like the best of horses. The dreadful figures scattered a hail of meteorites that bombarded walls with hot gravel and flew into windows. Simultaneously, cities were turned into heaps by the leaping ground. The multitude of terrible ones is like small dust. Their invasion shall be an instant suddenly, says Isaiah. The Lord shall send his host with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. These Maruts are men brilliant with lightning. They shoot with thunderbolts. They blaze with the wind. They shake the mountains. Isaiah 25:4 says that the blast of the terrible ones is as a storm against the wall. Thou, the Lord, shalt bring down the noise of strangers. The branch of the terrible ones shall be brought low. The Maruts are often called the terrible ones, the same term Isaiah used. The terrible ones of the Vedas were not common storm clouds, nor were the terrible ones of Joel and Isaiah human beings. Certainly only by chance did the similarity of names and pictures in the Vedas and the prophets escape the attention of students of religion. The Maruts are understood here as comets, which in great numbers started to whirl in the sky on short orbits after the impact of Mars and Venus. They followed and preceded the planet Mars. The name Mars, genitive Mardus, would be the same origin as Marut. It is therefore gratifying to read that the philological relation has already been established. It is even more satisfactory that this philological equation was made without knowledge of the actual relation between the planet Mars and the terrible one. By comparing Hebrew historical, Chinese astronomical, and Latin ecclesiastical material, we have established that it was the planet Mars which caused a series of catastrophes in the 8th and 7th centuries before this era, BC. The Greek expos explained how it happened that Venus ceased and Mars began to be a threat to the Earth. In heavenly battles, Ares, or Nergal, both known as the planet Mars, had an entourage of demonic figures. The name Mars is derived from the Indian Marut, or Maruts. The terrible ones are the terrible ones of Isaiah and Joel. The origin of the Greek name Ares was debated by philologists, and reasons against a common root with the identical Mars were admitted. And it seems to me that just as Mars is derived from Marut, the terrible ones of the Vedas, so Ares was formed from the terrible one. of the Hebrew, which, as used by Joel and Isaiah, is Ariz. In a no longer existent passage of Pliny, there was something said about comets being produced by planets. Also, the Suchow chart refers to occasions in the past when comets were born from planets, from Mars, Venus, and others. End of subchapter.
Samples from the planets. In the Vedic hymns, the Maruts are implored to be far from us, far the stone which you hurl. When comets pass close to the Earth, stones occasionally fall. Classic case in that of the meteorite that fell at Egospotanami when a comet shone in the sky. The Hindu book Vara Sanhita sees the meteorites portents of devastation by fire and earthquake. Since the planets were gods, stones hurled by them or by the comets created in their encounters were feared as divine missiles. And when they fell, they found they were worshipped. The stone of Kronos at Delphi, the image of Diana at Ephesus, which, according to Acts 19:35, was the image which fell down from Jupiter. The stones of Ammon and Seth at Thebes were meteorites. Also, the image of Venus on Cyprus was a stone which fell from the sky. The Palladium of Troy was stone that fell on the earth from Pallas Athene, the planet Venus. The sacred stone of Tyre, too, was a meteorite related to Astarte, the planet Venus. Traveling about the world, she, Astarte, found a star falling from air,
or sky, which she, taking up, consecrated on the whole island of Tyre, at Hypatia in Syria.
A meteorite fell, which was thought to be Astarte herself, and the temple to Astarte was built there. Festivals were regularly timed to coincide with the appearance of Venus as the morning or evening star. The stone on which the Temple of Solomon was built, Iban Shitaya, or Firestone, is a bolide that fell in the beginning of the 10th century, in the time of David, when a comet, which bore the appearance of a man with a sword, was seen in the sky. The sacred shield of Numa at Rome, the ensign of Roman Mars, was a bolide that fell from the sky in the beginning of the 7th century, and its origin was connected with Mars. In the years when the planet Mars had long been pacified, its position was still watched when meteorites fell. Thus, the Chinese wrote in 211, the planet Mars, being in the neighborhood of Antares, a star fell at Changqing and arrived to the ground. It changed to a stone. The people of the place cut a prophecy of evil for the emperor on the stone, and the emperor had it destroyed. Carving messages to peoples or kings on fallen stones was known before and has been practiced since. One of the stones that fell from the sky is still worshipped today. It is the black stone of Kaaba in Mecca. Now its surface is black from being touched and kissed innumerable times, but under its cover of dirt it retains its original reddish color. It is the holiest thing in Mecca, built into the wall of Kaaba, and pilgrims travel thousands of miles to kiss it.
Kaaba is older than Mohammedanism. Muhammad, in the early part of his career, worshipped Venus, Al-Uzza,
Planetary gods, which even today enjoy great veneration among the Muslims as the daughters of the god. The black stone of Kaaba, according to Muslim tradition, fell from the planet Venus, but another legend says that it was brought down by the archangel Gabriel. Granted that this legend may conceal some information about the origin of the stone, we ought to ask ourselves, who is the archangel Gabriel?